Morning everyone, thanks for joining us. Just up on the screen at the moment are the topics I'm going to go through with you. I know some of you are members and some of you are looking into it as to whether to sign up. So forgive me if I repeat myself on anything that's already known to you. I do have to make it kind of generic for everyone. So the stuff we're going to talk about today mainly is what is GSA? Can goals, first half goals, and the timing of those really affect a game? And what should I look for? What type of trades am I looking for here? How do I approach this? Do I need to worry about in-play stats, which is the other side, opposite to what we look at? And finally, what is my edge? Okay, so what is the game state application? The game state application, it looks back over previous occurrences and timings of goals and first half goals in each individual league. And because we have such a large sample rate, it's over time, it's 10 years I think, it identifies patterns in which there were further goals and compares the probability of that event occurring against the Betfair odds which you see on the front of the console during match day, and also highlights value trades where you have probability on your side and Betfair decides to disagree with you and think that the opposite is going to happen. Now that gives you an edge, and later on I'll show you how we exploit that. So can first half goals really affect the game? Yes, absolutely. I think the best way to approach the application is the old adage, it's a game of two halves. And it really is. What events occur in the first half have quite a big bearing on the second half. And it could be that the half-time interval is responsible for that. In fact, that's the place where we go looking for a lot of our trades, and it happens more often than you realise. It's not infallible, you're not going to be right all of the time, but it consistently goes against what the market thinks, or what the market thinks is going to happen, and this involves favourites, this involves goals scored, and most of our trading is around a single goal trade. That's somewhere I'd recommend you to start when you begin your trading with the game state application. And that's a very big edge to have. We're looking back into history, back into time over 10 years of stats. Sorry, just omitting someone else. So we're looking back into a database of a league for 10 years where we have a lot of information. Now I know a lot of you will trade on the basis of seasonal stats. I used to. And you have the last 6 or 7 games as form, and you might be looking back at the last 10 games. Fair point. I mean, it's got some validity because it is up to date and recent, but the sample size is very small. So you see a lot of these guys who give out these tips or give out this information. Well, Aston Villa have scored in the last 4 goals at home in the first half, so therefore it's 80, 90%, 100% guaranteed that they're going to score in the next first half. That's wrong. And the reason that's wrong is twofold. You have 4 games or 5 games. It's a very small sample rate. Now, if you're dealing a sample rate that small, if you think of coin tosses, it could come up heads 4 times, tails once. Yeah, and also, when we look back at our database, we've got thousands and thousands of examples. And the more examples you have, the greater the accuracy. If we tossed a coin up 100 times, it might come up 4852, 1,000, 499, 501, and so on to 10,000, where it probably evens itself out. So the greater your sample rate, the more accurate the data, and the more pinpoint you can be and assured of your trades. The other thing to consider with something like that is variance, because we know, using that database I've just talked about, GSA, on all those games, that 66% of all first half games have a goal. So if Aston Villa, say, have scored in the last 4, then they're going highly against the probability of them doing it again, because there's a 33% chance that they won't score. So you've got that to deal with as well. They're due one. They're due a 0-0. So again, just going back, the size of the database is very important. And getting your head around the fact that an historical stat can actually repeat itself is a little bit tricky at first. It's like if you're head to head, yeah, that's individual teams. But when we talk about an individual league and we have so many samples, a pattern starts to form. Yes, it is historical, and we are trading in a different way. We are looking back in history to see the occurrence of an event and how many times it happens to give us that edge. So I want to give you an example of this. And it would be perfectly reasonable for you all to think that at half time in this game, Spurs, who are odds-on favourites, they're going to come back into the match. No problem. And there'll be a lot of favourite backers at half time lumping on Spurs. This example I took from a couple of days ago, and I really enjoyed this one. It was on Twitter. There were several ways you could have approached this trade. And this is the English Premier League. It's not a lowly league. You will find these in those leagues as well, just as much as in the elite leagues as you will lower down as well. So let's look at this example. English Premier League, 1-0 to Sheffield United at half time, and the goal being scored in the 31st minute. This is a trade that you can use GSA for at half time when you have a 1-0 or a 0-1 and the favourite or the heavy favourite is losing at half time. So I'm going to call up GSA now in the stats tab, and we're going to enter this game. So we're going to go English Premier League 1-0 in the time band 31 to 39 minutes, and the score is 1-0 at half time. So in the meantime, lots of people have been backing Spurs, thinking it's inevitable that they must come back into this game. Okay. So now we have our data, and we've called upon a sample size of 111 occurrences of 1-0 being scored in that time band and the score being 1-0 at half time. So when we look down here, here's an eye-opener for you. From those 111 matches at half time, only 7 away teams have gone on to win the match, with a probability therefore of 6.31%. I'm not sure what price Spurs were at half time, but I can imagine a lot of money went on them, and I can also completely understand people thinking that that's what must happen. And this is where the game state application throws that into the bin. What it's done is it's looked at the time of the goal, seen it's half time, it's still 1-0, it's drawn back on 111 events of the same nature and come up with this pattern that 77.48% of the time the home team wins, 18 times it's been a draw, and only 7 the away teams won. Now, it does not matter if it's Man City, Tottenham, Arsenal, Man United. And you also have to get that out of your head as well, because we'll see what happens in this game in a minute. So don't pay any attention to the fact that the market's saying it must happen, it must happen. 6.31%, Spurs should have been nearly 16.0 to come back and win the game. And they weren't. They were probably 2.2, 2.3. I'm not entirely sure. So what do we do here? We have a couple of options open to you. You'd be thinking maybe I could do overs because the favourite is losing. Overs would be a very poor price based on the market saying, well, Spurs are losing and they're going to come back, so there's definitely going to be goals. So overs probably not an option. And if we look down here, we can see that only 81% of the time that there's been one more goal. And in fact, only 47% of the time has there been 2 goals. So you would not be getting value in that trade at all. It would be probably 1.8 and so on. So what can we do? Well, there's two options here, and I chose one of them, and I'll show you the other one. If we go down to one of my favourite strategies, next goal, we can see that with this game state of 1-0 half-time, goal 31-39, that more or less 50% of the time, the home team went on to score next. And GSA has calculated that the probability of that is more or less evens, 2.02. Betfair were offering 4.6 on the exchange. So I jumped on it. Because when I'm dealing with odds of even money and I'm getting 4.6, the more I do that over time, the more I'm going to win. I haven't even got to worry about variance there. It's even money shot because of the historical pattern that we've seen with these 111 games. Another option open to you is to lay Spurs, who would have been at short price, 2.2, 2.3. You're thinking, oh, it's Spurs, they're bound to score, they're going to score. I'm not too sure about this. Don't ignore this data. It doesn't very often get it wrong, and I'll show you how you can convince yourself to have done that trade. First of all, what we do now is we go and view those matches. Okay, right, we think Spurs are going to come back into it. So in the new stats tab we've got here, we've got the details already. It's 1-0, half-time, 31-39. So we can do a check here. And we know that Spurs, the away team only come back 7 times. So what's it going to be like for the first 20 minutes of that second half? If we enter a time band then of the first 10 minutes of the second half and we put 1 all in. Right, so from those 111 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games have had an equaliser. 8%. So chance of Spurs coming back and drawing, and don't forget you would have laid Spurs, so the draw is on your side, are very slim, 8%. So okay, I'm still not convinced. What about what happens in the 56th to 65th minute? Okay, so you can say, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 21 out of 111 have gone 1-1 before the 75th minute. Less than 20%. So if you'd laid Spurs at half time and maybe you just want to let it run, knowing that only 7 times out of 111 they'll come back, you only stand less than a 20% chance of actually finding yourself in a draw after 75 minutes. And if we go to the end of the match and we go 1-2, so only 2 occasions, yeah, has there been a late goal to take your money. So while the market all the time said Spurs are going to come back in this and they're going to win, it's going to be no problem at all, that's what happened. 3-1. So you've completely gone against the market based on some amazing stats. That's an amazing edge to have. You have such a massive edge when you look at that data and know that only 6% of the time the away teams come back to actually win the game. Had you laid Spurs, 69th minute, you're done. It's 2-0. Green up, get out. Or let it run. Me, I went for the next goal. I put that on Twitter. 4.6, that was a nice land. A few people were on that. So, yeah, look out for those trades at half-time at 1-0 or 0-1. Keep your eye out for those. Because at 1-0, 0-1 at half-time, GSA has the data, it has the time of the opening goal, and it will be able to calculate the chance of another first-half goal automatically on the front of the console. We're going to get into 2-goal first halves now and explain what happens to those and why they're good fun to research and to trade as well. So a lot of favourite backers, a lot of Spurs fans losing money there, and we were on the right side of the market with our data. I'm an Arsenal fan, by the way, so I really did enjoy that one. So What else should I look for when I'm looking at GSA on a busy Saturday? And it can get busy. When you first look at the console, it's a lot of lights, a lot of colours, and it can be quite overwhelming. I'll come to that, how we break that down, and you manage your trades, and you manage to filter down to what are really good, cherry-picked opportunities for you to get that late goal, or get a scalp in, or a lay bet. So a very good place to be at half-time with a match is 0-2, 2-0, 1-1. Now, as I've said before, and I'll show you the stat at the end, 0-2, 2-0 at half-time has the highest average for producing a second half goal at 81 and 81.4%, followed by 1-0, 0-1, 1-1 and 0-0, which only produces a goal 74.6% of the time. So automatically, if you're looking at a 0-2, 2-0 at half time, you have an edge, you have an advantage over the market with the percentage of games that have a further goal. And that's what we do a lot of the time with the GSA. We're just looking for a further goal. We're not really looking two ahead. I don't think we need to. But you will have your own sort of view of the software, and you will develop some trades maybe around an early goal, thinking that you have an opportunity on the value side to back overs when the market hasn't realised that. And I'll show you that on the console. So all matches that have more than one goal in the first half and a goal plus of 80%. Now the goal plus column appears on the console, and it will be telling you at half time 80%. And the reason I say 80% is 80% is not great to go on, but you can just focus in on those trades, and see if you can dig something up, like I'm about to show you with Atletico Madrid last night. I can't remember who they're playing, but I'll show you. And what we do is delete all 0-0s at half time. We do not trade 0-0 in the second half. A, because we don't have any goal data from the first half, and B, because it simply is the lowest scoring, second half scoring scenario at half time. I dropped 0-0s out of my portfolio when I started using GSA, and I don't miss them, and it saved me money. We have much more accuracy on a trade for finding a goal when we have information on the goals in the first half. So there you go. Delete all the half times at 0-0, and you will empty out your console a bit, and allowing you to filter down and find those better trades. This will also help you avoid bad trades as well. And the more success you have with the good trades, the more you will realise that you can just throw these other games away. And they're 50-50. As much as the game state application shows you a good trade and a good opportunity, it will also show you a very bad one, and that's a great addition to it. It will just be looking at it saying, well, 75% chance for second half goal, and this could be a 1-1 at half time, it could be a 0-2 or 2-0. It depends on the league and the time of the goals. So as much as as easy as it is to find a good trade, it's just as easy to dismiss bad ones and stop you from over trading. On a busy Saturday, Sunday, I might only do 4 or 5 trades. I used to do a lot more and would lose money. Now I'm just happy to sit on a trade, even if it loses, because I know that I gave myself every chance, and that over a successive period of trades, it's a profitable angle or profitable edge. So let's take a look at the 2-0 from last night, which was Atletico Madrid versus Mallorca. Now, Spanish La Liga, not my favourite league, but you're probably thinking, oh, it's 2-0 up, favourites are 2-0 up, Carlos kick a ball, they're just going to knock it about second half, no chance of a goal. Fair assumption again, could be a bit of a lazy league, a bit like Portuguese league. So what I would say in this situation, 2-0 at half time, is to go and check the first half goal column and the scores to see how the second half panned out. So how do we do that? Okay, so this time I'm back at the stats tab. I'm just going to clear this for you. And we are going to enter La Liga. What was the time of the opening goal? I just remember. Yeah, so there was 2-0, 29 minutes and late on injury time. So what we could do is enter 1-0, 29 in the time band, 21 to 30. We know that the score now is half time is 2-0. And that's all we do. 10 seconds at half time to look at this game. Run the game state application. Well, that's good. We get some extra time. So we've looked back at La Liga over the last 10 years, and it's come up with 41 samples of 1-0 in this time frame and 2-0 at half time. And immediately something stands out down the bottom. Overs. 90.24%. And when you're beginning on the game state application, I would say really focus on these. Really focus on the 90% trades because they're very reliable, and they do come in a lot. We can see that the next goal was 65%. Okay, it's probably priced up right on this occasion, and that there'd not been an away win in the 41 examples of this. So when do we think that goal is going to come? Well, it's not going to be a great price at the start of the second half, maybe 1.15 to 1.2, maybe a little bit more because it's Spanish league and it's a bit sleepy. They might be not expecting another goal, 2-0. Again, get that out of your head about half time, about 2-0 being a bad score. It's a great score. And it doesn't mean that a team's going to take their foot off the pedal. The other team's got to come out and do something, which is going to leave gaps at their back of their defence. So you're going to have an attacking match generally. So let's look at the time zone. Let's look at the time banding on this. Well, we know we've got our examples here now to go and view them. So we've got plenty of examples there. But what I'm going to do now is enter that late time band of the second goal in the first half. And what GSA done there is now just removed all of the others and given me a smaller sample based on those original 41. So here we are, the first time, the first goal, time the second goal, and half time 2-0. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 trades that have had this footprint in the first half. If we go along, let's look at the results. 3-0, 3-1, 2. Okay, we can see 1, 2-0. So from this first half footprint, there have been 18 matches in which 17 have had a further goal. And immediately, this becomes a trade you want to be involved in. So we can look down for the goals that were scored after 76 minutes. And we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 from 18. 66% of these games have had a goal after 76 minutes. This is a place where you'd be getting quite a good price on over 1.5. Maybe if you wanted to weight evens, I generally like to go in around at 1.7, 1.8, around about 70. Confident trade for me. I wouldn't hesitate to do this trade based on the stats that I've shown you. And there's the result. 3-0 with the goal scored on 79. Now, like I said, it doesn't always pan out like that, but it will happen more times. You will have more winners than you have losers if you follow that type of pattern. So half time 90%, filter the time banding down. Now if we'd seen that time banding at 2-0, it only had 11 out of 18 had a further goal, you'd discount it. The fact it had 17 put us in a fantastic position and gave us a great edge in this match to know that 66% of the time there was going to be a late goal and 95% of the time there was a further goal. And that's how you use GSA to simply break down a trade in a matter of 30 seconds. And if you keep doing that and keep applying those rules, you will be profitable long term. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed those examples and they were quite clear for you. I am recording this, guys, so if you need to go over anything again or watch it again, we can sort that out for you. Okay, moving on. Do I need to worry about in-play stats? No, you don't. To explain that one away, I'm of the belief that anything can happen in a match. It can be a dead match and a penalty can occur, or it could be end to end and finish 0-0. In-play stats do have some validity, but when you look at the historical data and the pattern of a match and the time of the goals scored in the match, it's so much stronger. You're dealing with a lot of examples, as we've seen with Tottenham, Sheffield United and Atletico Madrid. If you add in-play stats into the mix, you're going to suffer from paralysis analysis. If we looked at that Atletico Madrid match, say in the second half, and you'd seen 2 shots on target for 2 goals, not many dangerous attacks, and not much happening, would you trade that game? It would then start to put doubts in your mind. I don't look at in-play stats at all, never. I never watch the match. I've removed the in-play stats for the emotional side of it. It just adds an unnecessary extra bit of data to what is already a very clear trade that you should be entering. As I said, paralysis analysis. However, there is one thing I would take into consideration, which is coming up towards the end of the season, as we are now. Dead rubber games. Serie B, for example, the last day of the season, that the handshake league, as Matt called it. Watch out for those dead rubber games where you've got 9th v 10th and they're just strolling it out. That's only one part of the season. It's only a couple of games, and you can filter those down very quickly. The same as you could look at a game which is 1st v or 5th v 6 in the Championship, going for a place in the playoffs. That would be slightly more attractive. But that's the only time I consider ever stepping outside of GSA, just to double check that I'm not on like I said, a dead rubber, a dead rubber game at the end of the season. So we come to what is my edge? Well, I think I've kind of shown you that, how we have an edge over the market, which is all going one way, and we're completely pushing against it the other, because they're assuming, like we said, that Spurs must come back into the game, or that 2-0 at half-time is a sleepy score and they're just going to play out the game. So your edge is that you have, as I've shown you, an established statistical set of an occurrence that opposes that market belief and or the trend. And you also have the comparison calculated by the game stat application in terms of probability to compare against the value that's being offered in the Betfair markets. And that's where we picked up the next goal trade, where I showed you that it was a even money chance of the home team scoring next. Betfair are offering 4.6. Now, when you continually find those massive differences in the market, and you will surprise yourself how many times they actually come in. You only need to win 1 or 2 out of 5, and yet we're actually dealing with a probability of 50%. So I would advise also, which is something I've corrected myself, level staking. I was backing off of trades that had higher odds. But then I did a calculation. I looked back last month. I thought, Jesus, if I'd done level stakes, I would have made a lot more money. And don't forget, the probability was 50%. So the variance on that trade is going to be minimal. It's 50-50. But you have odds of 4.6. And this trade, the next goal trade, I think, can't do the sums, but we had two this week. We had Spal versus AC Milan, which I picked up at 5.0, and this one on Sheffield United at 4.6. And it's something like 20 points up for the month. They crop up every now and then. They're not regular things, and they do appear in the console in dark blue, which I'll see if we can go to a live bit now. So just for the tips, GSA on a busy day. As I said, use the first half time, and 90-minute filters. I'll show you the console in a sec. I think the J-League games are on, so we can have a look at half time. So use the first half time, and 90-minute filters to sort your matches and see what's going on in the first half. Is there something happening in that game? Half time, what's happened here? So the 90-minute one will give you a complete overview of all the matches, and on a Saturday you will have a lot of those. Focus in on the half time and in and around a further goal in the match, and also into about the 55th minute, 60th minute. If it's 1-0 and it's gone 1-1 early on in the second half, go and have a look at that trade. Go and do exactly what I did with Atletico Madrid and Sheffield United. Category alerts are there to alert you to early goals, quick response goals, and generally worth investigating. You'll find a lot of early goal games have a late goal. But as I said, all you need to do is go into the stats tab and go and investigate, and to see if the time of the goal marries up with the chances of another goal later on. Delete the nil-nils, we said, and the red TSS examples, which I'll come to, and look for games that are G plus 90% in the column at half time. Don't be tempted down to 85 and 84 and 3, unless you've done that time band check. If you stick to those Atletico Madrid games and the Sheffield United games, you really won't go far wrong. And as I said, many early goal games have late goals. So it's really down to you to utilise the software and trade alone, trade for yourself, and the satisfaction you will get simply by finding your own trades. The simple strategies: another goal, lay the favourite. They're not complicated. You don't need to set up insurance and stuff. And if a goal goes in on a match that you were looking or hoping for there to be a late goal, go and check it out. What if Atletico Madrid had gone 2-1 in the first 10 minutes? Go and check it out. It may well be that 9 out of 9 had a further goal. So never give up on a trade just because you've allocated it to have a late goal. Something happens in the match, there'll always be a footprint for it, and it might be that that game's finished now. Just move on to the next one. There's plenty more, and they crop up all the time, especially over the weekend. There's so many varied ways of looking at games at half time and looking deep into the history and seeing what happened. As we said, here's proof of the stat: 0-2, 2-0 half time, 81%, 81.4%, working right down to 0-0 at 74%. Another reason that we don't do 0-0 half time or lay the draw trades with 0-0. So here we come to the game state application. What I'll do is I'll just exit out of the PowerPoint now, and let's call up, let's see what's going on in the J-League. Okay, so let's take you round the console a bit now. As we can see, we've got quite a few category alerts going on here. So this is your typical action day, and they're all first half, I believe. Yeah. So this is what I said, filtering out, looking at stuff when it's busy, get to half time, look at those trades. So the first half. So let's track along here. Quite a few alerts going on. There's 2-4 in that game. Let's not do that one. So let's take a look at the 1-1 here with the very early away goal. We can see from the time of the goal that it's indicating down here after 3 minutes, 0-1. There was a 63.22% chance of a first half goal, which is another first half goal, which has happened. It's 1-1. Then from that point in the match, and it's important to remember it's from that point in the match, from the 3 minutes, 93.1% chance of another goal, which has happened, and we're looking at there was a 68.97% chance, goal plus, of it going over 2.5. with BTS at 74.71%. So now we keep an eye on that game, and we can just go across here and make a marker on it. So let's go and look at it. So we know that hovering over, there's an early goal, and there'd been quite a quick equaliser on 16 minutes. And we call up the samples of that. Now GSA defaults to a 0 to 20. Now we know we've had an early goal. It's 1-1. And I'm just going to fast forward this to half time, because you can do that. So what if the score was half time was 1-1? And GSA will now look back at the data and give us the sample size of 14. So rather surprisingly, it's quite a small sample, and the reason for that is because it's an early goal. Now, it's not unreasonable to stretch that out to 10 minutes to get a higher sample rate if you wish to do so. So let's do that. Because when we're dealing with early goals, they are rarer occurrences, so the sample rate will be smaller. Okay, now we've got 35 samples. And we look down and we can see that 80% had gone over 2.5, so another goal, and a mere 42% had gone over 3.5. You see down here that fairly even across the board for 1-1 at half time, just 9 away wins, 15 home and 11 draws. And down here you have the correct scores. What was the most popular outcome? The most popular outcome was 2-1. But nothing really standing out there too much. So let's do the time banding. The time of the second goal was 16. So now using our new updated filter, just waiting for that to update. Okay, so those are 35 examples. Let's enter that time band that we said of 16 minutes. So we know it's 0-1. First goal scored in the first 10. It's now gone 1-1 in the time band, 11 to 20, and it's reduced our filter size down to this footprint in the first half, assuming it's 1-1 at half time. Let's track across. We can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 1, 2, 3. So 5 of 14 have finished 1-1, and for me, that's a trade I'd never do. I've seen straight away now that there's a high chance that 5 out of 14, so you can say in that footprint of early goal with the equaliser in that column in that time band, around about 65% have had a further goal. It's a no trade for me and simply dismissed. So down here I can show you something in the how the prices work. So when GameStat application calculates the probability of something happening, it appears in the lighter font. So as you can see, this game in Japan is coming up to half time. It's 1-2, and it's telling us actually when we hover over that, a dark blue will always indicate to you that there's a serious mismatch with the Betfair prices and the probability of something happening. Now, be wary here. It's a very low sample rate. Okay, so you generally tend to ignore these value bets. What it is saying is that there was a sample size of 3, which is very low, and there's a 50% chance that actually this is going to go under 3.5. But you wouldn't do this trade simply because there's not a big enough sample. And these opportunities will occur all over the place. In fact, they occurred for myself under the next goal column in the Sheffield United match, where it appeared that, as we saw, there was an even money chance, 2.02. This was very, very dark blue, and the price above was saying 4.6. So it gives you a visual alert. There aren't too many around at the moment, but we can see that most of the time the market gets the price right. And looking at here, obviously it's saying that the odds on a draw are, if you hover over, sample size of 16, reasonable. There's a 26% chance of a draw. So the actual price of that draw should be 3.81, and Betfair are offering 3, which is very undervalued. On the same respect, at 1-1, so coming up to half time, there has been a 40% chance of the favourite winning, sorry, the home team winning, and the odds on that should be 2.54. Betfair offering a bit of value there at 3.25. So that's how you find value in a trade. And here's one that's popped up. Again, it's a low sample rate, so do be careful on these. Take your time. There will be great opportunities in this market to spot trades that occur. Another dark blue, sample size 3, not worth worrying about. You need to be focused on half time and finding these trades. Now, we can also filter chronologically, or also in order, ascending, descending, the goal plus, the chance of another goal. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and delete the sample reds because they're distracting. So again, this is me getting rid of anything I don't think that is valid. So we can see the best chance at the moment is the 1-1 in Japan, just at 80%. And we've already had a look at that and seen that 5 from 14 finished 1-1. So it's discounted. It's not for me a game that I would be involved in. And this is all you do in play. You're just constantly working around, looking at these trades. And the more proficient you get at it, the more lower you can go with your samples here to see if you can spot something. But don't overwhelm yourself to begin with. Focus on those 90s, 85s to 90s upwards, 2 goals in the first half, and a favourite losing at half time. That's a great place to start. And pay attention to the alerts and also the opportunities that these might bring up. Now, the thing about VEA and BH is that you've got to bear in mind if it's 0-1 or 1-0 with about 15-20 minutes to go, and originally it said there's a 90% chance of a goal, go and check out that match scenario in the stats tab. Let's do this one. Okay, 0-1, say it's 0-1 at half time, but there's a 91% chance since that goal has gone into a goal. So Japan J League 2, very early away goal. Up to 5 minutes, half time. And it might be one you want to keep your eye on because you're thinking, well, it's due a goal. It's due a goal, it's had an early goal. And there's one way to kind of help you with that. So there's 46 samples, go and view them. And have a look how many late goals there were. How many goals were there in these matches? There were 35 with that opening time score, 0-1 at half time. So of the 35, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 out of 35. Not that great. 33% chance for goal after 76. Probably discount that one too. So the more you do this, the more you will find your place and feel comfortable with your trades and get used to the console. But just make sure on a busy day that you don't overload yourself, and don't be afraid to dismiss trades, and don't be put off when you see high odds on something that you think shouldn't happen, like we did with Sheffield Wednesday and Tottenham Hotspur. So that concludes my webinar for you today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to go and grab my tea now, and it's nearly 6 o'clock here, and I'll be on Twitter later. I would say if you've got any questions, drop them to me on the YouTube channel or any other device like Twitter. I'll do my best to answer them. I'm just calling up. I'll do my best to answer them, and maybe we'll do another one again soon that's a bit more of an advanced model for you. I knew there was some new members here today and some existing members, so I had to be kind of liberal with how far I went into the game state application. But of course, just go in and play with it. You don't need to be live in matches. You can use the stats tab to look at scenarios and take it from there.